Hello, Northside. It's me, David. I'm here with Rebecca Light. How are you doing today, Rebecca?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Thanks for joining us today. Today is Thursday, April 17th, which is Maundy Thursday. Uh, Rebecca, let me start off by asking you, what, if anything, did your family of origin do around Easter? Did you guys observe Holy Week? Was it just Easter? What was that like for you?
We did not do anything religious in
Okay.
regards to Easter.
Okay.
Uh, I grew up in a church that said we celebrate Jesus's death and resurrection every Sunday with
Hmm.
the Lord's Supper, and uh, we did celebrate Easter, but it was only about the Easter bunny and the Easter eggs and the Easter basket. There
Yeah.
was no religious aspect to it at all in my
Hmm.
family. And the church did not have any kind of special sermon or teachings regarding Easter on
Yeah.
that day.
Yeah. And tell me what was like good about that. Tell me what were the strengths of that? What were the shadow sides of that?
Yeah, I think a strength of it was growing up. I definitely knew, hey, we're gonna think about Jesus every week.
Hmm.
We're going to remember his death and resurrection and what he's done for us every week.
Hmm.
I think a weakness of it was there was never that extra emphasis put on it, and I think that probably it would have been beneficial if there had been an extra emphasis put on
Hmm.
it. And I also think we missed out on an opportunity to reach people that weren't in relationship with Jesus, because there are people that at least at Easter and Christmas will think about it,
Yeah.
but our church was not doing anything special at that time. And so we would not have been a place for people like that to show up on Easter Sunday.
Hmm. So tell me now what you and your family kind of do around this time.
My own family now, we don't do a whole lot different. We do
Yeah.
talk about Jesus, and
Yeah.
um, we participate in things from Northside.
Yeah.
I will say that although I now believe there is a better way than the way I grew up, that the tradition of how I grew up still runs deep, even though I believe something that is different now, and I believe a different
Yeah.
way now. So,
Boy,
um,
I think there's going to be a lot of people that really identify with that.
yeah. So I'd say like at this point, and for me too, with Christmas is that way because we didn't do anything religious then, and so
Hmm.
I probably fall somewhere in the middle. My husband grew up in a different background, and
Hmm.
so he definitely has more of a religious focus on these important holidays, which I think
Hmm.
is really beneficial and appropriate and good,
Yeah.
not to just focus on the secular side of a holiday.
Yeah. Yeah. I identify with what you're saying too. I mean, I really, it's probably pretty obvious to folks at Northside that these Christian seasons have come to mean a lot to me. But even then, I just kind of you default to the normal, right? You default to what was normal to you, and so yeah, sometimes I still am, even though it's very important to me, finding myself going, okay, am I kind of walking with Jesus in this unique season, in this unique way, or am I just kind of uh, white noise walking through life, right? And one of the things I've found meaningful is that they do cause me to be more acutely aware
Mhm.
sometimes in these seasons. So I identify with what you're saying. Um, I can I can still slip back into just what was normal. So okay, I asked you to read chapter 14, verses 22 through 52. So what stood out to you? What was interesting to you about those?
This was a fun exercise for me to read through it for this and reflect on it. Things stood out to me in a different way than they have before.
Mhm.
Um, Starting with the Lord's Supper, which I mean, we've all read that part a million
Mhm.
times.
Mhm.
oftentimes on Sunday during communion, even if it's
Right.
not mentioned from the pulpit, just sitting in the pew, I might
Right.
turn to that part of the Bible to reflect. And this time, the Lord's Supper stood out to me as Jesus is getting ready to go through something incredibly painful,
Hmm.
something that he didn't want to do,
Right.
but is choosing to do because he loves us. He
Right.
knows his closest friends are going to betray him, and he still chose to get together with them and share a meal because that's what they're doing. They're sharing a meal. And I can't even imagine knowing what's coming and being like, I'm going to go share a meal.
Mhm.
And on top of that, knowing that the people that I'm with during that meal are part of the problem about what's coming.
Right.
And it stood out as something so beautiful to me reading in
Mm.
this time that even in our weakness, he's calling us back to him
Yeah.
and he's encouraging us. And also that he gave us this symbolism, this great thing. Okay, the bread is my body.
Hmm.
Um, and the wine, this is my blood.
Yeah.
And I think he did that for us because he knows that us and our frailty and our humanness, we need these things to remind us. We need these physical things to take us back to that moment. And not just the moment of, oh, his sacrifice, which I think is how that's how I
Hmm.
always look at that passage is his
Sure.
sacrifice,
Right.
but also his love and his faithfulness. He knew it was coming. He wanted community during that moment.
Yeah.
And I think how easily I can get discouraged because, right, we're all human. And so
Yeah.
in our communities, we get disappointed.
Yeah.
And it can feel easy sometimes to just want to say, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be in community. I don't want to deal with this. I'm going through too much. And he still chose them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was encouraged by being with them then or not. I hope he was, even though he knew what was coming.
Yeah.
Something else
Wow.
that stood out to me too, which I don't think I ever noticed before, but I chose to read this in the amplified version,
Huh?
which I like doing sometimes. Um, that it said, okay, and then they sang a hymn, and then they had the little extra saying that at Passover they would sing like Psalms 113 through 118. I've
Mhm.
never gone and looked those up before to see
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
was it that they were singing at this moment. And then that really struck me because I'm like, okay, Jesus just got done. He's saying, y'all are going to betray me. This is what's happening. I'm going to die. And these are Psalms of praise and thanksgiving, one of remembrance. Then we're back at praise again.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was a really good reminder of praising God in the good and in the bad and remembering what he's done for us,
Yeah.
even if we're in hard times. So that part just completely stood out to me in a different way than it ever
Yeah.
had before.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's still about the sacrifice, right? He's even in that moment of seeing him with him, there's some sacrificial love happening, like you said, because he knows what they're about to do. I love what you're bringing out though, because yeah, community is both the hardest thing about church and like the most important thing about church. And Jesus is here in this community, investing in the community that's going to hurt him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just amazed then from that, okay, he takes his disciples with him to the
Hmm.
Gethsemane, then um, choosing Peter, James, and John to go further with him.
Hmm.
Then he confines in them. And I felt this stood out to me a different way too, because it's like, okay, yes, Jesus is telling them he's overwhelmed with anguish and like he's so sad. But then I'm like, this is a man. This is a man
Hmm.
telling his buds,
Hmm.
I am desperately sad
Yeah.
and overwhelmed. And I think it can be hard to be that vulnerable even as a woman with other
Mm,
female friends, and I think it's even harder for men to be that
mm,
vulnerable with each other.
mm,
And again, he still knows what's coming, that they are not gonna stick it out with him, and he's choosing to bring them with him, and then he is making himself so vulnerable, saying what he's feeling in that moment.
yeah.
I also loved that it just felt to me like he was never giving up on them because he knew it was coming. And then when he's coming back again after they failed him, like he's going off praying and coming back, they failed him. They're falling asleep. And then he says to Peter, like, pray so that you can withstand temptation. And
Yeah.
so that stood out to me too. He hasn't given up hope. He knows what's happening. He still wants Peter to pray that he'll be strong.
Yeah.
And I think we give up on people pretty quickly, especially
Mhm.
when we see patterns of behavior.
Yep.
I know it's hard for me not to lose hope. And it just really struck me that he, I felt like it's still an encouragement to Peter pray. I know it's coming and you need to pray. And I know you're going to be sad. Like I'm reading into all this, right? I know you're going to be sad when you betray me later. Like I know this sin is going to hurt you too. Pray. I want you to
Right.
be with me in this. That's like everything that I read in to that part this time. Just God's faithfulness to us and then our weakness as human beings. And that I think it's so easy for us to feel so much shame after that weakness.
Mm.
Um, but he's being so clear through the Lord's Supper, and then when he's taking them to Gethsemane, and then as as Judas arrives and Jesus is being betrayed, he's being so clear that he is faithful to us,
Yeah.
and he's calling out the hypocrisy because when they arrive to get him, when Judas comes to get him, saying, "Y'all had all these opportunities to
Right.
take me in public, but here
Right.
you are now
Right.
when no one can see."
Right.
And it just highlighted to me that nothing new's under the sun. The hypocrisy that exists today was back then. That we can choose good even when
Yep.
all the odds are against us,
Mhm.
and that not all hope is lost because even for Jesus at that point, who felt so sad
Yeah.
about what he was going to have to go through, he obviously had hope. Like he chose to do that still for us. Although this passage does not get to that part, we don't see the rest of the story. At that point, in this passage, we end with him. He's being taken away. So
Yeah. Rebecca, one of the connections that you're making for me right now, which is one of the reasons I love studying scripture in this way, just asking what you notice, because it's amazing how we can just start making connections. But um, Maundy Thursday, which is the day, Maundy is Latin for command. And so the whole focus on this day of Holy Week is Jesus's command to love each other as I have loved you. And you're highlighting for me that there's this big act of sacrificial love that's coming. But along the way, Jesus is living out the sacrificial love step by step by step, by drawing near to these people, by being vulnerable to them. It's like the Christ hymn in Philippians 2. The Christ came and emptied himself. He just keeps emptying himself for people who are going to betray him. And our tendency as humans is to, people hurt me, I'm going to pull away. I don't want to get hurt again. I'm not going to keep going back to that. And there's some extent, we'll teach our kids, you don't have to play with so and so if they're going to hit you. But the redeemed, the full disciple who acts like Jesus and keeps emptying themselves in sacrificial love for the sake of this community, it's what makes the commanded community different than anything else, and why I think, as messed up as it is, the church can be actually be the hope of the world, right? Because
yeah,
where else are you going to learn that? Where else can you practice that?
yeah. By verse 52, they're all fleeing. Like all the things that come to pass, they are fleeing. They are scared.
Yeah,
I imagine they are really confused,
yeah,
but Jesus had already said it was all going to happen. He's coming back. And that gives me hope for
Yeah,
when I fail, for when I mess it up royally, that he came back, he's coming back.
every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is a. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have something else?
Well, I was looking down to see that, and I wasn't sure how much time was left right now. I had made notes a lot more, but I think that was all my main things. I don't know where we are on the time right now. So,
Well, we, maybe we need to come back again and do another series of these because I this is one the highlight of my week so far is talking to you and the other three. But we'll push pause here for today and thank you so much. This is like I said, this has been so fun for me to get to have these conversations and then to get to share them with the rest of Northside. So thanks for making the time today and thanks for your reflections.
well, I had fun doing it. I had felt a little nervous, but it actually was a really fun exercise to
Yeah,
reflect on this passage in this way. So thanks.
you killed it. And
Great.
that's a good thing for everyone who doesn't have middle schoolers. All right, Rebecca, have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye. Hi, Northside. I hope you just enjoyed that interview with Rebecca Light as much as I did. I wanted to invite you to our Good Friday service, which will be tomorrow night from 7 till 8 p.m. in the youth area. And I want to invite you also to come to that and to do something. If you were at our Ash Wednesday service, we gave you two 3x5-ish note cards. And one of them was something that you will do without during this Lenten season to feel more human. If you were at an Ash Wednesday service, I want you to bring that with you to the Good Friday service. If you weren't, no problem. But if you would like, I want to encourage you to bring a 3x5-ish kind of note card that might have something on it like what God has been teaching me lately, or if you did give up something for Lent, what I gave up for Lent, just something there that God has been teaching you or something you've been giving up. And then the second thing is, if you were at an Ash Wednesday service, you also have a card for somebody that you committed to pray for the last 40 days. I want you to bring that as well. And again, if you weren't at the Good Friday service, no problem. Come on anyway. You will not need those things to participate, but we think that if you bring those, it might be enhanced. So again, this Friday from 7 to 8 in the youth area. I hope to see you there. Bye.